June 1999. An 18-year-old college dropout clicks upload on a program he built between skipped classes. He's been awake for 60 hours straight. He's coding on a borrowed computer. He has $0, 0 investors, and no plan, just an idea everyone laughed at. 6 months later, 10 million people are using his software. 18 months later, 80 million. The $40 billion music industry mobilizes everything. Lawsuits, FBI raids, congressional hearings, even Metallica suing their own fans. And they eventually crush him, bankrupt his company, kill his creation, and pop champagne. Total victory. But here's what those celebrating executives don't understand yet. They've just made the worst mistake in music history, because destroying this teenager won't save them. It will unleash something far, far worse. The kid wasn't the threat. He was the dam holding it back. How did one teenager topple a $40 billion empire? Why did killing his creation change the music forever? Spring 1999. There is a windowless dorm room at Northeastern University in Boston. Inside, Shawn Fanning, 18 years old, hasn't slept in 50 hours. His eyes are bloodshot, locked on a glowing CRT monitor, fingers hammering code while the campus sleeps. The problem consuming him is deceptively simple. Finding music online is a nightmare. The MP3 format already exists. The compression technology has shrunk songs to roughly 1/10 their original CD file size, making them theoretically easy to share. But in practice, actually locating MP3s means crawling through broken FTP servers, sketchy IRC chat rooms, and web directories that disappear overnight. His roommates complain constantly that downloading a single track takes 14 hours on a good day, and half the time the connection dies at 90% complete. Shawn understands something the music industry hasn't yet. The infrastructure for a revolution is already in place. The compression technology exists. The bandwidth is expanding rapidly. Millions of people want digital music. What's missing is the architecture to connect supply and demand. His breakthrough arrives somewhere around hour 52 of sleeplessness, in a flash of clarity that will eventually cost record labels billions. He realizes the solution isn't building a central vault of songs. That approach is slow, expensive, and creates a single target for lawsuits and shutdowns. Instead, he envisions something radical, a peer-to-peer mesh network. Every user's hard drive becomes a node in a vast interconnected library. No warehouse and no centralized inventory. No permission required from anyone. If 10 million students each have 200 songs stored on their computers, the network collectively holds 2 billion tracks, with 0 storage costs, 0 distribution expenses, and 0 overhead. The concept obliterates every assumption the music business has operated on for a century. Shawn starts coding the architecture that night. In an online chat room, he teases the concept to strangers, most of whom dismiss him outright. But one 18-year-old in Virginia pays close attention. Sean Parker, a baby-faced entrepreneur already obsessed with disrupting entrenched industries. Parker tracks Fanning down through mutual contacts and discovers something unexpected. A shy, awkward kid from working-class Brockton, Massachusetts, coding on a borrowed PC in his uncle's office, and sometimes sleeping in a storage closet just so he can work around the clock without interruption. The nickname Napster, originally a jab at Shawn's curly, nappy hair from his high school days, becomes the software's name. By May 1999, after 5 months of marathon coding sessions, the first functional version compiles successfully. Fanning and Parker scrape together $50,000 from skeptical angel investors who aren't entirely sure what they're funding. The two teenagers drive to California with the executable on a floppy disk and a conviction that they're about to change something fundamental. They have no business plan. They have no revenue model. They have no idea that within 12 months, they'll be fighting for survival against every major record label on the planet. They launched Napster in June 1999. The first week brings a few hundred downloads, mostly Fanning's college friends and chat room acquaintances curious about the strange new program. The interface is clunky, servers crash constantly, but the core mechanism works exactly as designed. Type a song title into the search bar, see which users have the file on their hard drives, Click download, and the MP3 transfers directly from their computer to yours. No middleman, no payment, no permission. By October, word of mouth has pushed the user count past 150,000. By Christmas, it crosses 1 million registered accounts. And by March 2000, the number explodes past 20 million active users, the fastest growth of any software application in internet history. Shawn Fanning went from anonymous college student to the unwitting general of a digital army in 9 months flat. He has no idea that his dorm room experiment is about to set the entire music industry ablaze. Will he be able to destroy the entire industry? 2000. Napster has mutated from software into something closer to a social movement. High school kids, college freshmen, office workers, suburban parents, all of them trading MP3 files at speeds that would have seemed like science fiction 5 years earlier. Music that used to cost $17.99 per CD is now essentially free for anyone with an internet connection and a few hours to spare. The record labels watch in bewildered horror as their once loyal customers embrace this outlaw technology in unprecedented numbers. Supply and demand have decoupled completely. The appetite for music remains as ravenous as ever, but purchase rates are collapsing. Every hit single, every obscure B-side, every genre from Beethoven to Biggie is suddenly available at the click of a mouse. Why pay $18 for a Britney Spears album when you can grab the one song you actually want in 4 minutes and free? The impact shows up immediately in the quarterly reports. 2000 becomes the first year in 2 decades that global recorded music revenue actually declines. CD sales drop 2.5%, a $1.2 billion hemorrhage in 12 months. The industry blames Napster, and the math supports their accusation. The unbundling of the album has begun, and nobody asked the labels for permission. An entire generation is learning that music is something you access instantly, not something you save up for and purchase in plastic jewel cases. For users, the experience feels miraculous and vaguely illegal in equal measure. One college student later recalled the first time he searched Napster. He typed in a song he'd wanted for 3 years, watched the progress bar fill over the next few minutes, and then sat frozen at his desk, certain the FBI was about to kick down his door. Nobody came. He downloaded 200 more songs that night. Multiply that paranoid euphoria by 20 million users experiencing the same thing simultaneously, and you begin to understand the scale of what Fanning accidentally unleashed. Universities feel the infrastructure strain first and hardest. At Indiana University, campus administrators discover that Napster traffic alone is consuming 61% of total network bandwidth, a system designed for academic research and email, now clogged with students trading Limp Bizkit and Eminem MP3s between classes. By late 2000, over 200 colleges have banned Napster outright, not primarily because of copyright concerns, but because the sheer data flood is crashing their servers. Students revolt against the bans. At Indiana, undergraduates launch a Save Napster petition that spreads virally to 40 other campuses within weeks. For them, Napster isn't just a useful application, it's practically a constitutional right. The media catches on quickly. Newspapers run breathless headlines about music's Wild West and digital pirates. Reporters ask incredulously, who's behind this Napster thing? Suddenly, Shawn Fanning transforms from anonymous coder to reluctant cult hero. He's shy and visibly awkward in every interview, but the press can't get enough of the narrative. A teenager in a hoodie taking on billion-dollar corporate giants. In October 2000, Fanning appears on the cover of Time magazine, hood pulled up, smirking at the camera as the face of what journalists are calling the Napster revolution. He's invited to the MTV Video Music Awards, where he strolls on stage wearing a Metallica t-shirt he claims he borrowed from a friend, a pointed jab at the very band that has become Napster's loudest and most aggressive critic. The audience erupts. Shawn Fanning has become a cultural lightning rod, celebrated by millions of fans, despised by powerful music legends. But in the boardrooms of Los Angeles and New York, the celebration is about to end. The music industry's executives have finally woken up to an existential threat. For years, they operated in a comfortable bubble, CD sales booming, profit margins guaranteed. Napster shattered that illusion overnight. The label's $40 billion gravy train has screeched to a halt, and the panic is palpable. At a private meeting during an industry conference in early 2000, one agitated label executive reportedly slams his fist on a table and declares the only solution is simple: ban the internet. He's dead serious. That's how apocalyptic Napster appears to them. They're about to fight back with every weapon at their disposal. What they don't realize is that this fight has already spiraled beyond anyone's ability to control, and their first major counterattack will do something nobody anticipated. It will transform Shawn Fanning from folk hero into legend. How did a drummer's publicity stunt backfire so spectacularly? And what made the labels reject a $1 billion offer that could have saved their entire industry? Napster's explosive growth has the giants of the music world scrambling for a response. The Recording Industry Association of America isn't about to let a bunch of teenage pirates destroy their empire without total war. In December 1999, even as Napster's user count climbs toward 10 million, the RIAA launches its assault, a massive federal lawsuit alleging copyright infringement on an unprecedented scale. Every major record label joins the legal siege: Universal, Sony, Warner, EMI, BMG. The complaint demands up to $100,000 in damages per song illegally shared, a number that could theoretically bankrupt Napster millions of times over. But Napster doesn't collapse immediately. The company hires Hank Berry, a Stanford-trained attorney and experienced dealmaker, as CEO. Berry initiates back-channel negotiations with label executives, floating an idea that might save everyone. What if Napster converted to a paid subscription model and shared royalties with the labels? For several tense months, it looks like a deal might actually happen. Then Metallica detonates everything. April 2000. The legendary metal band discovers that a demo of their song "I Disappear," recorded for the mission. Impossible 2 soundtrack has leaked onto Napster before its official release. Their drummer, Lars Ulrich, is apoplectic. Metallica doesn't just file a lawsuit, they make the confrontation personal and theatrical. On May 3, 2000, Ulrich himself marches into Napster's Redwood City headquarters flanked by lawyers and bodyguards, hauling 13 boxes that weigh a combined 60 pounds. Inside those boxes, printouts listing 335,435 individual Napster usernames that Metallica's investigators identified, trading the band's music. Ulrich demands every account be banned immediately. Napster complies, banning over 300,000 accounts within 48 hours. But the PR fallout is catastrophic, and not for Fanning. Overnight, Lars Ulrich becomes a meme, the greedy rock millionaire suing his own fans, many of them teenagers without credit cards. Shawn Fanning, meanwhile, achieves near-mythic status. That October Time cover, the MTV appearance in the borrowed Metallica shirt, the crowds chanting his name at tech conferences, the battle lines crystallize in public consciousness. A multi-platinum drummer versus a teenage coder. Only one can be the villain, and the court of public opinion has already decided. If you're enjoying this showdown between a scrappy college dropout and the most powerful entertainment industry on the planet, smash that like button and subscribe. It tells me you want more deep dives into the digital battles that rewired civilization. Stick around, because this war is just getting started. Dr. Dre joins Metallica's crusade within weeks, adding another celebrity face to the lawsuit. Meanwhile, the RIAA escalates its strategy. If they can't immediately kill the Napster platform, they'll terrorize its users into submission. Industry lawyers begin compiling evidence against individual downloaders, preparing a wave of litigation designed to make examples out of ordinary people. The legal math is terrifying. Statutory damages of $100,000 per song mean that a college student with 200 downloaded tracks faces potential liability of $20 million. In one case that will drag through courts for years, a single mother from Minnesota named Jamie Thomas Rassett is eventually ordered to pay $1.92 million for sharing just 24 songs. And over the following years, the RIAA will file lawsuits against more than 18,000 individuals, including 12-year-olds, 71-year-old grandfathers, and someone who didn't even own a computer. Yet Napster's users remain fiercely loyal despite the legal threats. Many view the record labels as the true villains, after all. The industry has been selling CDs at inflated prices for decades, while paying most artists only pennies per album sold. To these millions of music fans, Napster isn't theft, it's rebellion. And several prominent artists publicly side with Fanning. Electronic musician Moby tells interviewers he's flattered people love his work enough to share it. Courtney Love publishes a lengthy essay accusing record labels of being the real pirates, exploiting artists through predatory contracts for generations. Even as the cultural war rages, Napster's legal day of reckoning draws closer. In July 2000, a federal judge rules in the RIAA's favor and orders Napster to shut down immediately. But Napster's lawyers win a temporary stay from the appeals court, keeping the servers running while the case climbs toward its final resolution. By early 2001, the decisive battle arrives. Will Napster bend to the courts and the industry, or somehow slip free and survive? What happens when a dying company offers $1 billion to stay alive? And why would anyone refuse that much money? February 2001. After 14 months of legal trench warfare, Napster's fate hangs by a thread. On February 12th, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals delivers the crushing blow. Napster is overwhelmingly liable for contributory and vicarious copyright infringement on a massive scale. The judges reject the Betamax defense, Napster's argument that their software has substantial legal uses. With 2.79 billion file transfers happening monthly, nearly all of them copyrighted music, the court isn't buying the innocent tool argument. The ruling is unambiguous. Napster must stop the unrestricted trading of copyrighted songs. A countdown begins, the same 48-hour countdown from our opening scene. Inside Napster's headquarters in Redwood City, the atmosphere swings between defiance and desperation. The young staff works 20-hour shifts on a last-ditch technical solution, acoustic fingerprinting filters that would automatically block any song by artists who don't want their music shared. But the technology is immature and the filters fail to catch millions of files. Meanwhile, Napster's 57 million users don't wait to see if the company survives. They assume the free ride is ending and download everything they can reach. College network administrators watch helplessly as bandwidth spikes to 4 times normal levels. One technology journalist later describes the final weekend as the last days of Rome for Napster's free music era. Behind closed doors, Napster's executives make one final desperate proposal to the record industry. What if we paid you? In a move unprecedented for a startup with essentially zero revenue, Napster offers the labels a $1 billion settlement. $1 billion over 5 years in licensing fees. Just let us keep operating as a legitimate paid service. The offer reveals how valuable Napster's user base has become. Even a modest monthly subscription fee from 57 million accounts could generate that sum. But the labels smell blood. Their total legal victory is within sight, and they have no incentive to compromise now. The $1 billion offer is rejected in less than 72 hours. Every earlier overture, Hank Berry's back-channel negotiations, the proposed revenue-sharing partnerships, all of it dies in those boardroom meetings. The executives don't want Napster to survive in any form. They want it destroyed completely, made into an example so terrifying that no one will ever try this again. So Napster prepares for execution. In July 2001, Judge Marilyn Hall Patel issues the final injunction. Napster's central servers must go permanently dark. On the night the service dies, Shawn Fanning is just 20 years old. 2 years earlier, he was coding through sleepless nights in a Boston dorm room. Now he watches security guards escort crying employees from the building while news cameras broadcast the collapse. For the first time since June 1999, users across the globe open Napster and see only an error message. The music industry declares total victory. Shawn Fanning's rise and fall happened in a blink. One moment he graced magazine covers and walked MTV stages. The next he was grappling with the complete collapse of his company. In the aftermath, Napster files for bankruptcy in 2002. Its remaining assets and brand names sell for $5.3 million, less than the cost of a single Metallica world tour. Fanning, the teenager who sparked the inferno, becomes a cautionary tale. Brilliant and disruptive, but ultimately crushed by establishment power. The record labels celebrate their courtroom triumph. Their lawyers collect bonuses. Their trade publications declare the war won. But that celebration will be short-lived. Because Napster's death, it turns out, is the definition of a Pyrrhic victory. The war isn't ending, it's mutating into something far larger and far more impossible to defeat. They killed Napster. But can you kill an idea that 57 million people already learned? Napster's centralized servers are dark, but its legacy is spreading faster than ever. The moment the original service dies, a dozen new heads sprout from the corpse, a true Hydra effect that the record industry never anticipated. Throughout 2001 and 2002, second-generation file-sharing networks absorbed the millions of refugees. Nutella, Kazaa, Morpheus, Grokster, eDonkey, LimeWire. Unlike Napster, these successors have learned from Fanning's fatal vulnerability. Where Napster ran all searches through central servers, a single target for injunctions, the new networks distribute everything. No headquarters to raid, no CEO to depose, no kill switch to flip. Shut down one node and traffic reroutes instantly through 1,000 others. The legal whack-a-mole begins immediately and never stops. By 2003, Kazaa alone has more registered users than Napster ever accumulated. The irony is savage. In their desperation to destroy one file-sharing company, the labels inadvertently accelerated the development of a dozen more resilient successors. Then comes BitTorrent. Programmer Bram Cohen releases the protocol in 2001, and it perfects what Napster only approximated. Instead of downloading a complete file from a single user, BitTorrent breaks files into tiny pieces and pulls them simultaneously from dozens or hundreds of sources. A swarming model that makes transfers faster as more people share. By 2004, BitTorrent alone accounts for roughly 35% of all internet traffic worldwide. Not 35% of file-sharing traffic, 35% of the entire global internet. Piracy hasn't just survived Napster's death, it has been hardwired into the basic infrastructure of the web. The record industry responds the only way it knows how. More lawsuits, more threats. In September 2003, the RIAA sues 261 individual file sharers in a single coordinated sweep. The targets include a 12-year-old girl living in public housing and a 71-year-old grandfather who barely understands what an MP3 is. The cases make national headlines, but not as victories. Late-night comedians mock the spectacle of music industry lawyers terrorizing grandmothers. Public sympathy swings hard against the labels, and despite all the legal fury, 35,000 individual lawsuits filed over the following years, the piracy numbers keep climbing. Meanwhile, the industry's core business collapses. Global recorded music revenue, which peaked at $38.6 billion in 1999, enters a freefall that nothing can arrest. By 2009, exactly 1 decade after Napster's launch, annual revenue has cratered to $17 billion, a 56% decline in 10 years. The labels blame piracy, and they're partially correct. But the deeper wound is behavioral. Napster permanently altered how an entire generation thinks about music. It unbundled the album. It taught millions of people that music could be instant and on demand. By the time the industry finally accepts legitimate digital distribution, Steve Jobs launches the iTunes Music Store in 2003, selling songs for 99 cents each. The consumer expectations have already calcified. Jobs didn't invent digital music purchasing. He simply monetized the habits Napster created for free, and the labels, desperate for any revenue, surrendered pricing power to Apple and never recovered it. As for Shawn Fanning, he watches the entire transformation unfold from the sidelines. In the years after Napster's collapse, he stays in tech, launching Snowcap, Rupture, and Path. None recapture the lightning in a bottle moment. He built a digital weapon that dismantled a $40 billion industry before he was old enough to legally buy a beer. The record labels won their lawsuit. They bankrupted his company, and absolutely none of it mattered in the end. Here's what the music industry discovered too late. You can sue a company into bankruptcy. You can destroy a 20-year-old entrepreneur. You can win every court battle, collect every legal judgment, celebrate every injunction. But you cannot uninvent peer-to-peer architecture. You cannot make 57 million people forget what free and instant music felt like. The industry spent an entire decade fighting a war against human behavior, and human behavior won decisively. Shawn Fanning didn't destroy the music business. He simply exposed the cracks that were always there. The flood did everything else. The labels thought killing Napster would restore the old order. Instead, they created an enemy that couldn't be killed, a decentralized swarm of networks and users that would torment them for 20 years. The boy in the hoodie didn't win his legal battle, but he won something more important. He proved that information, once freed, cannot be recaptured. And if you want to see what happens when another teenager builds something even more dangerous, a weapon that didn't just disrupt an industry but brought entire governments to their knees and made one young hacker the most wanted fugitive on Earth, watch this video next.